I'm gay, apparently.
Can you do so maybe for a minute?
Can you say? I tell you. I said faggot. I said I'm getting this for saying faggot. And what? So, you can buy them out of Iceland. You can buy faggots out of Iceland, yes? Can you go to Iceland to buy a pack of faggots, yeah? Alright. There you go.
Okay, do you have any medical conditions?
Yes. I love faggots. That makes his wrong. Yeah, say cheese, boy. Say cheese. Homophobic for saying huh? Huh? Fill that in there.
Alright, first and foremost, as always, I want to give all praises, honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Waha, Recha Kodash. That's all praises to the Most High God, Yahweh, in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly called Jesus the Christ. Giving honors to the apostles, the elders of Great Millstone, and other like-minded elders in Israel that teach well, by whom I learned this truth through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, Shalom Barakim. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. Your brothers and sisters that are scattered throughout the four corners doing your due diligence, and citation also to the Akim that are laboring, ministering week in, week out, in season, out season, making their bodies a living sacrifice unto Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai in all truth and sincerity. Right, it's the brother Daniel Allah, back with a real quick hit with the spirit. And I saw this clip yesterday pop up on the feed, and you know, more proof that the famine of the word is just around the corner, man. You know, that your so-called freedom of speech, you know, is being taken away. And you know, as you can see, Jake here, and this is this happened over here in the UK, London, UK, right in a town called Croydon, town centre, and obviously, you know, I don't know what's transpired before the police were called or whatever have you, but you got, you know, 3 or 4 police officers, they're all women, right, and they're arresting this Jake for saying the word faggot. Now, I'm not sure if he called somebody a faggot, but nonetheless, right, he said the word faggot, right. Now, you know, when you talk about new speech, right, there's such thing called new speech, which is basically words that are taken and the meaning of these words are changed, right, over time, right? Just like, for example, the word gay, right, which means happy when you go to the root meaning of that word, right? Happy. Now, we know that the word has been perverted, as it were, just like the rainbow, for example, being a sign or a token from the Heavenly Father, you know, to let us not forget the judgment that He brought upon the earth in the times of Noah, right, via the flood. And the rainbow was what? A token or a sign to show and prove the Heavenly Father would never flood the earth with water again, right? So He set the bow up in the heavens. And now that's been taken and perverted also, right, as a symbol to the LGBT community, right? Again, just like the word gay, right, has now been taken and is being used for someone that is a homosexual, right? So it's the same thing with this word here, faggot, you know, and that's just going to be a real quick hit. I want to go into the meaning of that word. And again, just to show and prove that your so-called freedom of speech, you're not as free as you think you are to speak whatever it is you want to speak, right? Especially when it comes to speaking against that community. Let's just say that, right? Jake's funny, man. You know, he said, I'm getting arrested for saying the word, the word that rhymes with maggot, right? And even though I've said it now, I gotta be careful when I say it. They might flag the video or take it down, right? Again, but we understand what the word means, you know. He said, I'm being arrested for saying the word, and told them, you know, you can go to Iceland and buy a pack of faggots, right? Which you can, you know. And that's why I want to go into the root meaning of the word, right? And then just pull up a few precepts. So let's grab the word faggot, right? Right, late 13th century, a bundle of twigs bound up, right? A bundle of twigs bound up. Also, fagald, right? A bundle of sticks, a bundle of wood, right? From the Latin. But another theory traces the vulgar Latin word to Greek bundle, which is probably pre-Greek, especially used for burning heretics, right? Emblematic of this from the 1500s, so that the phrase fire and faggot was used to indicate punishment of a heretic, right? And that's heavy too, because we know that the punishment for homosexuality, according to the law back in the ancient days, was what? Was death, right? And you can read that in the Bible. That's not what I'm saying. That's what the Old Testament reads, right? Those are the wages of that particular sin, right? Whereas now, obviously, through Yahweh Shai, that could be repented of, you know. But anyway, it says fire and faggot was used to indicate punishment of a heretic. Heretics who recanted were required to wear an embroidered figure of a faggot on the sleeve as an emblem and reminder of what they deserved. And again, a faggot is simply a bundle of twigs bound up, right? And there's another meaning here, and this is the meaning that he said he was using, right? When he said you can go and buy a packet of them from Iceland, which Iceland is a shop, a supermarket over here in the UK, right? So it says the traditional British dish made from the innards of pig's liver, lungs, heart, and spleen, mixed with breadcrumbs, rolled in balls, and braised in stock. You know, and I always used to hear about that when I was younger. I've never tasted it, but I do know that's somewhat like a delicacy over here in the UK, man. Right, these little meatballs that are made out of pig's innards, right? Right, liver, lungs, heart, spleen. So that's what he was yelling, right? That's what he was saying. Now here's the second part, right? And this is as new as 1914, right? A male homosexual, right? Slang, probably from earlier contemptuous term for woman, right? Which is kind of heavy still. I never knew that. Especially an old and unpleasant one. Okay. So in the 1500s, they were labeling unpleasant old woman faggots too, right? Bundle of sticks as something awkward that is to be carried, compare baggage. Worthless woman, right? Baggage. It may also be reinforced by Yiddish fagel, homosexual, right? Literally little bird. It also may have roots in British public school slang for fag, a junior who does not deserve duties of a senior, right? Other obsolete British senses of faggot were man hired into military service merely to fill out the ranks at muster. So as you can see, man, there's so many different meanings for that word faggot. And guess what? The one that's commonly used today, right, which goes into homosexual, is as new as 1914, right? The original one goes all the way back to the 13th century, which again is a bundle of sticks. So, you know, you're out there being, Jake out there getting arrested for just simply saying that, man, right? Or calling somebody that, you know? So this just had me thinking, you know, those of us that are out there on the highways, the byways, pushing this word, and we already know this through the years, you know, the elders and apostles have given, you know, great advice and counsel on, you know, speaking in codes, as it were, you know, changing words to some degree, you know, and that's probably what we're gonna have to end up doing more and more, you know, because at times coming, like I said, Amos 8:11, at times coming where they're gonna do a total clampdown on us bringing this word out, man, teaching the Holy Bible, you know, and saying anything that goes against their regime, you know, and their their order, as it were. So let me grab this verse here. in Isaiah chapter 29, verse 20, it says, "For the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off. Now here's the point: that make a man an offender for a word." See, so they made that Jake there an offender for simply saying the word faggot, right? And he got nicked for it, as we say over here in the UK. He got arrested for it. You know, you probably get charged for disorderly conduct or something like that, and that will end up going on his record, man, which is crazy, because that could now stop him from getting work or a certain job, So just hey, this the state of this kingdom here, man. Where you're not allowed to speak the truth and say anything, you're not allowed to say anything about the agenda that these devils are pushing. They label you what? They label you they label it hate speech or anti-Semitism and whatever else they want to label it. Disinformation. So we have to be very careful on how we're teaching out there. Because all it takes is for one disgruntled mole to call the police, and get a brother arrested, get a brother nicked. And we've seen that happen, we've seen that happen. So wisdom, man. Wisdom is key at all times. So I read again in Isaiah 29 and 21, that make a man an offender for a word, right? And lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate. And this is exactly what these devils want. They want us to slip up, right? They want us to bleat expletives and curse them out. And so then now they've got an excuse to clamp down on so-called freedom of speech, man. And again, label us a hate group. Label us a you-know-what organization, a T organization, Simply for what? Simply for speaking the truth. It says, "And lay a snare for him that reproveth at the gate, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught." That's right, man. Because, really and truly, when you look at it, and I was going into it yesterday at the altar briefly, it's not really a big deal, is it? Like he said, he understood the real meaning of the word. I said, you can go into Iceland and buy a packet of these things, right? But I don't know, again, I don't know what happened or transpired before he got arrested, whether he's running around, yelling expletives at people, and I don't know. But nonetheless, you're just talking about so-called Great Britain, where you got a freedom of speech, man. And as long as you're not physically hurting anybody, then you're free to, say whatever it is you want to say. Which is rubbish, ultimately. Right? I said, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught, man. But they're trying to find anything they can to try and label us a hate group, label us anti-establishment, And we're not shocked or surprised. We understand that this is all part of prophecy playing out. We were warned about these things, man. But again, I want to make the point of us, applying and using wisdom when we're out there on the highways. Like the elder apostles say, use the code words with certain things, because they be taking brothers' lessons down, flagging lessons or whatever have you. So, wisdom, because the time's coming, man. Amos 8 and 11, which I'll read that quickly and wrap it up. And this is in the NLT, right? Amos chapter 8, verse 11. It says, "The time is surely coming, says the sovereign other one, when I will send a famine on the land, not a famine of bread or water, but of hearing the words of Yahweh. People will stagger from sea to sea and wander from border to border, searching for the word of her other one, but they will not find it." Right? And the reason they won't find it is because these devils are going to have either brought in a major lockdown or just given a total ban on preaching the Bible in public, and which we're seeing that in some places across the world right now. Some of those Asian countries, right, you're banned from reading the Bible in public, and if you get caught, you get fined or even imprisonment. So that's what's coming to America. That's what's coming to places like the UK, right? So yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Just a quick hit through the spirit. You know, Lord's way was edifying. And to the next one, as always, I want to say Kahaloyim La, Abanawa Yehawa, Alahayanawa, Bahasham Yahawah Shai Waha, Recha Kodash, Brakati Yahawah, Brakati Yahawah Shai, and Shalom Barakim to the elect. Shalom.